Glenn, thank you for that live report. And our team coverage now turns to the calls by Mayor Sarno and others to strengthen state laws when it comes to repeat offenders. Right now, the State House and Senate are looking to find some common ground to combine gun reform bills that address both gun violence and possibly repeat offenders.
Western Mass News reporter Matt Price is live in studio with more. And Matt, you spoke with a local legislator about this topic as well as Wednesday night's incident.
That's right, Abby and Chris. State Representative Carlos Gonzalez has been very vocal about gun reform and reducing gun violence. And he made that very clear following this shooting overnight that sent a Springfield police officer to the hospital. Gonzalez stopping by our Western Mass News studios a little while ago, telling our crew he is saddened by what took place and hopes the injured officer makes a speedy recovery. All of this happening as Gonzalez and other lawmakers are trying to, in his words, curtail the gun industry and get certain guns off the streets, like assault weapons. Gonzalez serves as the House chair of the Joint Public Safety Committee and sits on the Conference Committee, which is working on a compromise gun reform bill based on what has already passed in the House and Senate. While repeat offenders portion is on the table to put in a final bill, Gonzalez says it is not that simple.
Repeat offenders is a judicial issue as well. It's not only an issue of guns because repeat offenders are not only committing crimes with weapons, but again, our goal here is to provide law enforcement with the tools necessary to make sure that they have to lock up those individuals that are using illegal weapons, committing crimes with illegal weapons, and most importantly, selling illegal weapons.
Gonzalez tells me he and his colleagues are getting very close as discussions continue, and he hopes to have a final bill passed and signed into law by the end of the current session next month. Reporting live in the studio, Matt Price, Western Mass News.